get a call, which is out in left field from the FBI, and I was quoted by the FBI years ago, and so I was like, oh, a little stroke to my ego or something. So I decided to show up to the Validated Physical Assessment, the VPA, which is basically all law enforcement, and everybody shows up. Hundreds of people show up, men and women from all over the US. I show up and I'm like, kind of throwing my hat in the ring, like, I'm not sure really what I'm doing here, but I'm here. So it has 4 stations. You do a max push-up, you do this agility thing, change direction, you do max sit-ups, and you do this thing called the beep test. Anybody know the beep test? Beep test, right? So it's like springing back and forth. Beep, and you move, and then turn, beep, and you move, and it kind of progresses. It goes from slow to fast to all out. So it's kind of like a VO2 max assessment, and the risk is less and less. So I show up with my tried and true power plate, and I prep in the parking lot, and I'm there. I'm like, okay, I want to prep my electron transport chain for what I'm about to do. I'm going to prep my BDNF for my brain to get ready. I'm going to drive nitric oxide to get my vasodilation. I'm going to set myself up for strength, agility, and movement. So I'm there, and there's all these proctors, and they're looking, and they're like, what is going on in the parking lot with this guy? So I get to the thing, I do the thing, crunch, 60 in 1 minute, push-ups, 65 in 1 minute, agility, I do the thing. Then again, the beep test, and there's like 150 of us were lined up. So I'm going back and forth, and remind you, I'm breathing through my nose the whole time. And so everybody's fatiguing because their mouth's open, right? So they're getting all this extra adrenaline and catecholamine secretion, but they're fatiguing. So all these people are dropping out. So I kind of move into the zone where I flick the metabolic switch, and I kind of go into the microflow. And all of a sudden, I'm moving through the levels faster, 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 and I kind of come out of it level 5.5 or something, and everybody's gone. And there's nobody left in the analysis but me. So there I am on my own, and I kind of realize everybody's gone. Did I miss the beeper? And everybody had already was done. They were told to stop. So I'm going level 6, 6.2, 4, 6, 8, level 7, 7, 2, 4, 6. I get into the 8s. I don't know how high this thing goes, but I'm breathing through the nose the whole time. So right at the end, I take out this device, this functional activator, this postural device, to use adrenaline to give me the final piece, and I finish it out, and I get through that. And all the proctors, they come over, and I don't think they've seen human performance like that maybe in a while. And there I was, prepped with power plate. There I was, optimized as a human is, to be able to access my body, to be resourced and oriented and present in a body, which is what we're doing here. And that process allows us to, all information is vibration. The brain learns differently than we do. We learn through vibrational information. And that's what we're doing here today. And that can program us for what I call a longevity dividend, which is the difference between your chronologic and your biologic age. So let's go through this a little bit. Okay, so I run this Life Lab in Santa Monica, California, and there's hundreds of people that roll through there, all looking to improve their well span, health span, lifespan, ideally. And this fine gentleman is chronologically 72, chronologically 72, and with 1 year of what you just witnessed and the targeted intermittent fasting cycles, they now have a biologic dividend of about 16 years. So that's measured through blood epigenetic analysis. So about 1 year of time, no formal exercise, using vibrational information, which involves our bone, lung, muscle, skin, and reflex. And that's what we're addressing here. One more time, bone, lung, muscle, skin, reflex. That's how our body processes this thing called information, which accesses our genes. That's the epigenetics. So this person here, you can see, when you look at their graph, hopefully you can see it somewhat. So their change over time, right? So their pace of aging slowed down as well. So we'll get to that in a second. So we have our rate and pace of aging, and then we have our biologic versus chronologic age. And so this person with nothing else going on, doing their life, they're able to induce this 16-year longevity dividend in 1 year of time, mainly without sweating or changing their clothes. I know I'm sweating, but I was doing a pretty good amount of things, right? They're not really changing their clothes or sweating, and they're making these shifts and influencing their genes. And isn't that what we're doing, right? That's what we're looking to do. Let's see if it'll go. Oh, it does. Great. Well, one way to categorize all these biotechnologies that you're here with, that you're exposed to, the biotechs, is they can be looked at as mimetics. They mimic things that turn on and turn off adversity or abundance. And sometimes we want both. So I just activated some adversity, my systems respond. Maybe that's good, maybe it's not good, depending on the state of the nervous system. Looking at all the modalities, and I went through it today before we did this. There's all this talk of healing, and there's plenty of modalities that are being presented to you to figure out how to influence healing. Healing is vibrational, and it occurs from the nervous system knowing that it's safe. But it has to know it's safe innately. And a lot of people don't know what that means because they're kind of disconnected from body. Remember back in the 1700s, Rene Descartes, I think, therefore I am. It should be, I feel, therefore I am. So because of our disconnect and our layers of our microculture and our habits and our rituals, we have disconnect. And we end up with, unfortunately, progression towards pathology and then ultimately dis-ease. So the road back happens internally. Biology is the first technology, right? And we've kind of given up on it. In the 19th century, we had Charles Darwin and evolution, and in the 20th century, we moved into Watson and Crick and DNA, and now here we are. We're in the 21st century in epigenetics. It's hard science. We're all about evidence-based care. It's there. The medium is us, though. We're the intervening variable in between. We get lost. So the road back to us, to self, is this thing, this vehicle that you're standing in now, that you're seated in. If you have more mass on your body, you get something like 4 pounds extra force going through your joints. So you can kind of go, okay, yeah, I have a little bit extra weight on me. Maybe I want to remove weight, but really you want to do it to address your bones, right? And your bones are how your immune system does its job and deploys stem cells, right? So this road is this direction. These tools provide that window, the medium, to you. And you can then start addressing how you're feeling. Then you can get out of symptom management. There's a lot of symptom chasing going on, right? Everybody's running around looking externally for things when the answers are this direction. It kind of takes crisis for a lot of us before we can kind of stand it and go, oh, I don't want to chase the symptoms anymore. So it's kind of a long way of saying there is a journey and you're all in it. You're tracking it for yourselves. Some of you, I could see the chronic fatigue on you and the self-medicated strategies, because that's what our culture is taught, and we're just doing our best. There is a better way, and this goes this direction. So when you're looking for answers, take your thumbs and point them at yourself, and you can start that process. This technology in this room is the right medium for that, because it's addressing the vibrational component, which is how we heal. The the longevity genes, there's kind of these major genes that we've generally collectively decided we can call the longevity assurance genes. They're generally collectively decided on. These are here. These are at the top of the dam. And down the river, are things like mTOR activation and all the other pathways that you've heard about, AMPK, on and on and on. And upstream, we're looking to influence these genes and these adversity and abundance mimetics that you're exposed to across the conference, as well as what we're doing here. They start to influence these things, and that takes us 3 years to be embedded at the level of the DNA. That's Eric Panda. And so if you think about your life, for 3 years, maybe that sounds like a long time. I know we like things to be quick, right? Tell me what's gonna happen now. In 3 years of lifestyle programming and influencing your genes through your habits and rituals and whatever the exercises you're doing, you're gonna make influence to these genes, which are the master regulators of all these things that are going on. That's kind of the large view of what it is you're looking to do. I'm hopefully doing my part to kind of bring it together. So hopefully you have a starting point, because it's like the Wild West. And I'll be the first to say it is the Wild West. Go downstairs, there's everything going on. Where and how are you supposed to navigate the process? Once again, you go this way, and your body starts to be able to express how it feels. That whole body vibration, it's harmonic. That means it's native to us as mammals, so we connect. So you don't have to stretch on it as much as just touch it, and all of a sudden, there's a component of information to your DNA. And it becomes the medium to you to finding yourself, so you can understand self, understand if you're safe innately, and then what it is you're actually doing with what you're doing. How we doing? Good. All right? Okay, great. This works. So I used to do all this expedition racing, these 8 to 10 day nonstop, 24 hours a day races. Some of you may have seen those. They were on Discovery Channel, NBC Dateline, ABC Wild World Sports. I did those for a decade. That's like saying I've done Ironman racing at a professional level for a decade, or on the other end, bodybuilding for a decade. So I understand dysregulation and maxing out your stress hormones and basically accelerating aging. So it's not really a badge of like, hey, I did this, but understanding what it actually means. It doesn't help my pace of aging. Now I don't really do any exercise. And I show up at the validated physical assessment, and I'm the last one standing. Breathing through my nose 95% of it. Could have done the same thing the next day. That's not because I'm something special. We all have the same biology, the same bones and lung and muscle and skin and reflex. That's what you want to invest in. That's what you want to invest in. So this person here, you can see they're aging at a 0.74 for every year chronologically that they're alive. And when we look at all the risk and morbidity and mortality risk factors, we want to be down at about 0.7. That reduces us to 50%. That's a good starting point. That's how functional medicine now is generally communicating it to their patients. Let's get your aging down to about 0.7. We can reduce all these risk factors for you. Great, so good starting point. A lot of people that I'm involved with, I treat trauma, I do a bunch of things. They're aging faster than every 1 year that they're alive. So, right, they're kind of working backwards. I'm right now at about a 0.7. Less isn't necessarily better, right? Less is more with our nervous systems, and we don't really know. We don't have enough data yet to know, well, how young can I make it or should make it? And you know, there's always a trade-off in evolution with biology. So be aware of what and how you influence yourself, because it isn't good and then better. There's a trade-off. So this person, though, they started at about 1.1 1 year prior. And with what you just saw, and the special targeted intermittent fasting sequences throughout the year at the right time, everything is best done in cycles and pulses. Whatever you're going to do. If you're going to hold your breath, great. Do it in cycles and pulses. Don't do it for the rest of your life. If you're going to be doing some exogenous supplementation profile, great. Do it for a cycle and a pulse. You shouldn't be on anything for any significant length of time. If you're on pharmacology for a specific condition, then you're probably on that. And then again, you have to keep moving the needle so you can not need that as well, right? Because there's generally a cost to that as well, metabolically. So we have to get to these trade-offs. This is how we get to stop chasing symptoms. I know we all want to. Who would like to stop chasing symptoms? Raise your hand. Great. Right? It's time. So if you're yawning right now, it's not because you're tired, or hopefully it's not because this is boring. It's because your brain's not getting enough oxygen. So you might want to breathe through your nose. Who's fasted right now? Besides me? How many? 4 or 5 of us? Okay. Why you fasted?
Didn't feel like eating.
Didn't feel like eating. So that's great. That's the start of listening to the body. I knew that I would just do better because my brain's going, okay, we need food, so I have a little more resources, my cognitive function, so I didn't fast. I've had 2 green teas a day. There's a longevity dividend potential in green tea. So, but no food. I don't necessarily need to eat later. I was on a 5-day fast last week because I have micro tear in the glute medius anterior division, and it's gone. It's gone. That's how quick I healed. So I went to fasting to heal the tissue. As I was doing myofascial release with the whole body vibration from power plate, I recognized my system can't deploy stem cells. Let's talk about stem cells real quick. So all the amazing deliveries of stem cells, which there are many, our body's designed to generate those endogenously. It means when you do things like fast, you need several days. The body then can pull it from bone marrow, and we can actually get some more. But to get the stem cells to the target tissue, you have to have 2 key points going for you. One, you can't have a chronic inflammatory state going on, the inflammasome. Most people have some form of chronic inflammation. That was the chronic state I had in the glute muscle. So acute inflammation is great, it does healing, but chronic is not what we want to do. We kind of understand it innately. So they have that going, they have the inflammation piece, and then they aren't able to get the microvasculature so that the stem cells can get to the target tissue. Hence, what we just did right now. We are addressing the chronic inflammatory state, and we are addressing the microvasculature by activating the lymphatic system. It's something like 70,000 miles of blood vessels you have to activate, circulate. How are you supposed to get that from playing tennis or squash? Squash is a great game. If you ever done squash, squash is excellent. You have to have a high VO2 max to do squash. So it becomes anaerobic and acidic. Anyway, that's the microbiome next door. Don't be acidic. So those 2 conditions is what we're looking to set up. Then we set up our bodies to be able to optimize things like stem cell delivery to the target tissue. Power plate drives stem cell activation. Same thing. We have to have the 2 conditions in position to be able to have the stem cells reach the targeted point. Anybody involved in stem cell therapy currently in the room? Okay, a couple of people. Anybody looking at stem cell therapy in any form coming up? Okay, so we're looking at 40% of the room is involved in stem cell. Just remember, it's coming from bone, and the body has to trigger it, and then it has to get to the target tissue. So kind of like supplementation, a lot of it becomes expensive urine. It doesn't get to where it's supposed to go. So how do you know that you're should get it to go to where you want to go? We have to have those 2 states in motion. Reduce your inflammatory and get the microvasculature going. Yes?
Can I ask a question? Do you have to get the stem cells to be totally viable out of the country because they don't offer what they do in other countries like Costa Rica or Europe and the US?
Let's do the question at the end if that's okay.
Sure.
And we'll keep going. Just know that the best form of stem cells is actually the ones that you make yourself. So fasting is the best version of that, which is one of the gifts nature gave you, so you can access that. One note on discomfort. Most people stay away from discomfort. I'm moving just because I want to make sure you're awake. Discomfort. We stay away from discomfort. And we stay away from discomfort, but discomfort is the way that we activate our mitochondria, right? The mitochondrial biogenesis effect is when I'm doing what I was doing, I'm driving the mitochondria, the million billion bacteria. So we want to make friends with discomfort. and our habits and our culture shows that we are kind of on the opposite end of it. And that's because we're what? We have torpor, we have affluence. It actually is. So affluence engenders torpor. So here we are as a culture walking around looking for all these tech to help us with all the stuff that's going on inside our body, because we were bought and sold Rene Descartes' I think, therefore I am, instead of I feel, therefore I am. So now we're running around looking for things that are going to solve all these problems, which we have the tools innately to do. So we looked at this person's telomere length just on its own. We took in nothing else of their biomarkers. This person at this point has 6.9 kilobases, which is a shift in them over the course of the year of the work that they've done with the vibrational information for healing. And you can see it puts them at a high percentile. So just from, it's one marker, but just from looking at the telomere piece, they're actually running really well. Yeah? Their metabolism is running well. We can say that they're metabolically efficient, or they have metabolic flexibility. Do we know what metabolic flexibility is generally? Yeah. Our system can use fat as well as carbohydrate for fuel. Okay, so let's just quickly go through this piece. We have enough understanding and data to show that if we work on our lung function, specifically FEV1, expiratory volume, like I did in that position, that's respiratory system, and our VO2 max, how much oxygen we can uptake, right, per minute, and our gait speed, how fast we move, our nervous system speed, we're able to, and our grip strength, we're able to influence our age. So these four processes are all addressed with what you just saw here. There's one device that's not here. You should come to the booth, power play booth. It's called biodensity. And the biodensity piece adds to the maximal grip component, and it acts in the gait speed component. So your central nervous system processes and runs better as you work on increasing bone density. How are we doing on time? We're at time?
5 minutes ago.
5 minutes, okay. Sorry, I like the time. I can talk all day. Oh, we're at the last slide. Okay, so I know we're supposed to get to questions. So again, what we're here doing is we're really having you come into the microculture so you can adopt addressing your bone, your skeleton, your lung, muscle, skin, and reflexes. That's how the body will provide this healing information, which is done vibrationally, so you can look good, feel good, and function good. Questions? Sean Stone.
So just before we take questions,